Ambassador, is it in America's best interest to have regime change in Iran?
Well, you have to look at that two ways. I would say, is it in our interest for the regime to change? Yes, we would love to see a regime in Tehran that represents the Iranian people, that produces freedom, a democratic process, prosperity and security for everybody there. That would be great, and that would be great for America.
Welcome to the RadarFrequencyTV. When politicians speak sound bites, we cut through the noise. When the world turns up the heat, we turn up the signal. What you're about to hear isn't a headline. It's a decoded broadcast for those who are paying attention. Iran was enriching uranium to 60% purity before the U.S. struck, dangerously close to weapon grades. The former ambassador, Volker, confirmed Iran's nuclear infrastructure is degraded. Their proxies like Hezbollah are weakened. Congressman Byron says that this wasn't just tactical, it was planned. A terrorist regime with nuclear ambitions was checked. AOC and the Democrats now want to impeach over the strike, yet remain silent when President Obama bombed Libya and Syria without consequence. Let's jump into this.
U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Volker, joins me now. Mr. Ambassador, has this strike changed the Middle East fundamentally?
I think it has in the short term, and the long term will depend upon what happens to the regime in Tehran. Right now they are much weaker. They are going to be much less capable at launching large-scale threats in the region. Their proxies have already been weakened, the Houthis and Hezbollah. They're going to be less capable of using those. They will try to lash out at striking at American or Israeli interests, but I think they are fundamentally weaker, and I think that does change the dynamic a lot.
And that's a good thing, in my personal opinion, and perhaps yours too, Mr. Ambassador. I think you do think that. Now then, what evidence is there that Iran did actually move nuclear materials from the Fordow operation before the strike? Any evidence for that?
We don't have any evidence. The Iranians have claimed that. It would have been logical. I think they were anticipating that there could be such a strike, so it would be sensible for them to take these materials and disperse them as much as they could. That being said, the ability to take enriched uranium, further enrich it, and then weaponize it is still a very complicated process. You need the facilities to do that, and they are in a much more degraded position, I guess you would say, to be able to do that. We don't know exactly how much damage was done, but it's hard to believe with what we've seen from the satellite photos that they are in a position to really do that right now.
Mr. Ambassador, is it in America's best interest to have regime change in Iran?
Well, you have to look at that two ways. I would say, is it in our interest for the regime to change? Yes, we would love to see a regime in Tehran that represents the Iranian people, that produces freedom, a democratic process, prosperity and security for everybody there. That would be great, and that would be great for America. But whether we should be the agents of doing that, that is a very different question, and that often involves bringing up greater support for the regime in opposition to that American intervention than if we let events take their own course. So that's the debate that people are looking at.
Well, as things stand now, do you think there will be regime change in Iran?
Certainly the regime has increased its crackdown on the people. They're arresting people right and left, preventing any demonstrations. That's an indicator that A, they're worried, and B, that people are getting out to protest, so that the regime is having to do this. So certainly the raw material is there. Whether it materializes, we just simply don't know yet.
I wouldn't like to be a nuclear scientist in Iran at this point, but that's, again, my opinion. Ambassador, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Thanks. President Trump is saying there is great unity in the Republican Party after the strike on Iran. Florida Congressman Byron joins me now. Congressman, is there any kind of split? We've heard talk of this, that there's a split inside the MAGA movement. Is there a split?
I mean, look, you have some members of the movement who are not happy. But let's just be realistic about where we are. We could not let Iran get a nuclear device. They were enriching uranium upwards of 60% and higher. That is a fact. And then the last piece is that there was a strategic opportunity to eliminate their enrichment facilities, and we did that. We obliterated them. And so at the end of the day, you have a terrorist regime in Iran. They have killed American troops. They have fomented terror through the Middle East and around the globe. We have been trying to negotiate in good faith. President Trump tried to negotiate in good faith, but the Iranians were doing what they've been doing really for the last 25 years. And so at this point, we weren't going to follow the lead of Barack Obama or Joe Biden. We were really going to do something serious about this. The opportunity presented itself, and the president of the United States made the correct decision in obliterating those nuclear facilities.
AOC is calling for Trump to be impeached. That's really highly unlikely, isn't it, Congressman?
The left says President Trump overstepped. Conservatives say it was overdue. But here's the real analysis. Iran regime is cracking down on protests. That means pressure is working. They denied having moved nuclear materials, but if they did, what does that say about their intention? So I ask you guys, was this strike bold, a defense, or global security, or was it a calculated political move? And should we push the regime change in Iran or let it collapse on its own? Let me know what you think. Please drop your thoughts in the comments.
Oh my gosh. I mean, again, with her, so stupid, so ridiculous. All this is just, trying to say something to get on TV or have a soundbite that gets carried in media. The Democrats didn't say anything when Barack Obama launched airstrikes against Libya. When Barack Obama launched airstrikes against Syria, they did nothing. They were quiet. They cheered him on, so on and so forth. The president of the United States does have constitutional authority for strikes when it comes to military force. That's why they're the commander in chief. And so a lot of colleagues on Capitol Hill, they're talking about the War Powers Act, but the War Powers Act is something that's been litigated in court time and time again, and it does not obstruct a president of the United States from using military assets when they are in the key national interest. And I will add, one of the things that is crystal clear is that the Iranians were trying to actually create nuclear weapons. There's a reason why they have a ballistic weapon system, ballistic missiles weapon systems. There's a reason why they were trying to create ICBMs, and that was simply not to just have things they can light off as fireworks in the sky above the skies of Tehran. They wanted it to be able to flex their power in that region and around the globe. And since they are a terror factory, that is a fact, we simply could not let that happen.
One more for you.
Well, guys, there you go. When uranium goes mobile and Congresswoman sound bites flood your feed, what should you do? It's not a time to scroll. It's time to dig in deeper because you deserve the truth, the full truth. Remember, if you like this information, please consider like, subscribe, and share. Always remember, stay informed and engaged. And until we meet on the next one, please be safe.